The chandelier above the grand hall looked like a frozen waterfall of light. Every crystal caught the glow of 100 candles, scattering fragments across the polished marble floor. The air carried the smell of roasted truffle and expensive wine. Laughter rippled through the guests like music, sharp and glittering. Ethan Cole moved quietly between the tables with a mop and bucket. His uniform was faded at the knees, sleeves rolled twice to keep them from getting wet. He worked slowly, careful not to interrupt the orchestra playing near the stage. Every so often he glanced at the mirrored walls and saw what he had become, just another reflection no one cared to look at. "Hey, watch where you're dripping, janitor," a man barked from a nearby table. A few heads turned, chuckles followed. Ethan murmured an apology and kept wiping the floor. The mop squeaked. Someone imitated the sound and the table burst into laughter. He tightened his grip on the handle but didn't respond. He'd learned long ago that dignity doesn't come from defending yourself to fools. From across the room, Martin Hale raised his glass. "Don't mind the help," he said to his guests. "They need purpose, too." Ethan recognized the voice immediately. He didn't even need to look. The same smooth arrogance, the same careless power. His cousin. He took a slow breath and focused on the floor. It had been more than 20 years since they'd seen each other, 20 years since Martin had turned family into strangers. The last time, they had stood in their uncle's study fighting over a will neither of them truly understood. Martin had walked away with the company, the houses, the fame. Ethan had walked away with nothing but a duffel bag and a head full of resentment, and now here he was, polishing his cousin's ballroom floor. The string quartet swelled, guests applauded, and waiters paraded trays of golden-crusted appetizers. Ethan moved toward the back of the hall, hoping to disappear into the corridor until the party ended. But fate has a cruel sense of timing. A woman in a sequined gown pointed at him. "Oh look, Martin," she laughed, "your janitor matches the decor, gray and dull." The crowd tittered. Martin chuckled, pleased by the attention. "Don't tease him, Clara," he said, though his grin told everyone he enjoyed it. Ethan paused, forced a small nod, and turned away. The laughter followed him like echoing footsteps. He found a quiet corner near the service door and leaned on his mop. His hands were trembling slightly. Not from humiliation, but from the storm he was trying to keep inside. He'd come here because the cleaning agency had sent him on short notice. He hadn't known whose event it was until he'd seen the Hale crest printed on the banners. For a brief second, he'd thought about walking out. But the week's rent was due, and work was work. Now, watching Martin bask in attention, Ethan felt the old wound throb again. "Same man," he whispered. "Same game." When the dinner hour arrived, the lights dimmed, candles flickered, and the orchestra shifted to soft jazz. Waiters poured champagne like liquid gold. Martin stood to give a toast. 50 years of life, 30 years of empire, and countless loyal friends, he announced. Tonight is about legacy and gratitude. Applause thundered. Ethan, at the far side, kept mopping. Clara, the woman in the sequined gown, lifted her glass. "Let's make it interesting, Martin," she said. "You're always talking about kindness and generosity. How about we test that tonight?" Martin smirked. "A test? You want to turn my birthday into a game?" "Why not?" she replied. "Let's see how generous the great Martin Hale really is." The guests leaned forward, excited by the mischief. "And how do we test it?" Martin asked. Clara's eyes scanned the room until they found Ethan. "Him," she said, pointing. "Be generous to him." A murmur spread like a spark through dry leaves. All eyes turned to the man with the mop. Martin raised an eyebrow, amused. "You mean the janitor?" "Exactly," Clara said. "Show us your heart." Ethan froze. He wanted to melt into the floor. Martin laughed. "All right, let's play." He gestured toward Ethan. "Come here, my friend." Ethan hesitated. "Sir, I still have." "Come on," Martin interrupted, voice booming. "For once, put the mop down and join us." sit at my table." The crowd cheered, half mocking, half entertained. A few pulled out phones to record. Ethan's stomach knotted. He'd faced worse humiliations before, but something about doing it in front of Martin felt like reopening an old scar. Still, he walked forward slowly, each step echoing against marble. When he reached the table, Martin gestured to a chair beside him. "Sit. You're my guest tonight." Ethan sat, stiff and uneasy. A waiter poured him champagne. The bubbles shimmered under the chandelier. Clara leaned over with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So, Mr. Janitor, what's it like cleaning up after people like us?" Ethan looked at the glass in his hand. "Peaceful," he said quietly. "Floors don't judge." Some laughed, some frowned. Martin grinned wider. "You've got wit. I'll give you that." "Tell us," another guest said. "How much do you make in a month?" Ethan replied, "Enough to eat. Enough to sleep under a roof." "That's barely living," Clara scoffed. "Don't you dream of more?" "I dream of peace," he said simply. For a moment, his calm unsettled them. But Martin broke the silence with another joke and the laughter returned. The party shifted back to noise, but the janitor at the table stayed silent, a ghost among glitter. He tasted the food, steak tender enough to fall apart with a fork. He chewed slowly, remembering the nights he'd eaten instant noodles cold because the electricity had been cut off. The flavors felt almost foreign. Across the table, Martin watched him with amusement. "You look like a man remembering the past," he said. Ethan met his cousin's eyes for the first time. "Just remembering how different things used to be." Martin's smile faded slightly. "Have we met?" Ethan's voice was calm. "A long time ago." The billionaire tilted his head, trying to place the face, but shrugged. "Well, whoever you were, you clean a fine floor." Ethan looked down at his hands, scarred, steady. "You never learned how to see what's beneath the shine." The words hung in the air. A few guests exchanged glances. Clara laughed awkwardly. "Feisty janitor." Martin's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone, friend. This is a party." Ethan nodded, stood slowly. "Then I'll get back to work." He picked up his mop and turned toward the exit, but a sudden voice from the doorway stopped him. "Ethan Cole?" The music halted. Head swiveled. A woman in a black coat stepped forward, holding a leather folder. Her voice carried authority, measured, professional. "Mr. Cole, I've been looking for you." Martin frowned. "Who are you?" She ignored him and approached Ethan. "Margaret Dawes. Legal counsel for the Hale family estate. I have documents that require your signature." Ethan blinked. "My signature?" "Yes," she said. "Your uncle's remaining estate has been re-evaluated. The court has finalized the distribution." The crowd murmured. Martin's face turned pale. "That's absurd," he snapped. "The estate was settled decades ago." Margaret opened the folder. "Apparently not. A codicil was discovered last month in the old safe at Hale Manor. According to it, the company's founding shares were to be divided equally between Martin Hale and his cousin, Ethan Cole." The room fell silent. Martin stared at Ethan as if seeing him for the first time. "Cousin?" Ethan exhaled slowly. "Hello, Martin."